Rogan was talking about like, Elon knew before anybody that, that he had won, and Elon's got Starlink, and it's all computer, right? With Elon Musk. And so it doesn't require you to believe he actually did that to think that maybe Trump thinks that he actually did that. And so if you have, that would explain why he was so subservient to him long beyond what you would expect. And now that you have the Wisconsin result, it is like, oh, well, clearly you weren't able to pull it off there, so I guess you didn't actually rig the election for me in my favor. So now I can be done with you. That was the theory that Ryan floated, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I don't know. That requires some mental jujitsu that I'm not quite ready to embrace. The easiest explanation is that he just gave him a $250 and that Trump is... Also, just look at Trump this time around. Trump has lost much of his edge. His edge last time, and I was especially during this whole Mike Waltz saga, anybody who looks like such a fucking idiot on television, that person got fired in the first term. I was there. I covered the entire thing. I watched this happen over and over again. If you had even one screw up like that, he would call you, he would scream at you, and you were done. I mean, it was, one bad story, if it was embarrassing, that was it. With Elon and with Mike Wall, because it's not just Elon, it's actually the whole government. It's that many of these guys, Howard Lutnick, Lutnick has crashed the stock market like 5 different times.
Besant
like
was hardly inspiring also in this response to tariffs.
Tell you, Scott Besant is, I'm not even talking at a mechanical level. In his presentation, he's just bad at this. Like his confirmation hearing was a disaster. He clearly does not have confidence in his. He clearly does not have confidence in his public presentation. He was not prepared for prime time at all. Whenever the stock market there was fluctuating, I actually literally had the S&P live ticker and my phone in front of me as he was on Fox News. I was watching it drop as he continued to speak. That's not good. It's like a Tim Geithner level situation from 2008. Well,
and the whole reason he was picked is because Trump thought that he would inspire market confidence.
Kind of. Besant is one of those like more MAGA-friendly figures from Wall Street. Like he's somebody who made his fortune trading, but he's actually expressed a lot more nationalist beliefs about, let's say, the current accounts deficits. And
But he wanted someone who would have the confidence of the markets, who also had some of those like MAGA nationalist tendencies.
Exactly correct. And he's just not doing a good job at a communication level. I'm just saying, basically, you can watch the results of that. He's not able to defend the policy all that well. I think the reason is, not to make it even more about tariffs, et cetera, but if we go back and look at all of this, Elon has not tweeted once about the tariffs. Have you noticed that?
Elon's not a tariff guy.
Yeah, Elon actually supported Javier Milei whenever he cut all tariffs coming in and out of Argentina, which is kind of hilarious. But if we think just about Elon generally, he has become the lightning rod. He's destroying his own company, and Trump made him the figure that we will all remember the most about the first 100 days. When the history is written of the first 100 days of the Trump administration, we will remember 2 things. Today, quote, Liberation Day, or I guess yesterday was Liberation Day, I apologize. Liberation Day, and we will remember Doge. That's what we will remember, the first 100 days. Everything else is bullshit that you'll really it'll be footnotes. It won't even make the Oxford history. But those 2 things, you can say quite clearly, it's obviously going to have the impact in terms of not even what it necessarily did, but for the implication internally of what he decided his presidency is about. And so we can see that clearly by outsourcing much of the spotlight and the fights. Really politics is ultimately about the fights that you pick. That really is what it's all about. Trump is a genius in terms of picking those fights correctly during the campaign. But this time around, like Doge, the idea of government efficiency and all that was popular, but the more that you saw it executed, it was just obviously stupid. It was haphazard. It was, there was no consideration. Elon himself is obviously not a good communicator. There is insane amounts of conflicts of interest. He's also just kind of an idiot in his general political presentation. And so you see all of that showing up in the Wisconsin numbers. And I think, at the very least, Trump can conclude, oh, this is not good. This is becoming a problem for me from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin made it very clear. And we can there's a new poll of how people feel about Elon. They don't like this guy. He is not popular. Put this up on the screen from Politico. So approval of how he's handling his work at Doge is at 41%, with disapproval at 58%. For Musk himself, the numbers are even worse. 60% have an unfavorable view of him, compared with 38% that have a favorable view. He has all of the chaos and insanity of Trump and none of the charm. Doge, listen, it honestly, like it actually was kind of hard to screw up this idea with the American public because people are on board with, oh, let's make it more efficient, let's cut the fat, whatever. Like rhetorically, people were inclined to be on board with that. But it became incredibly and immediately clear that's not what was actually going on here. I mean, you have the level of just like cruelty of celebrating people losing their jobs, you know, and being axed, and you immediately get these stories that are like, oh, aren't some unsympathetic pink-haired liberal weirdo. We're talking about huge numbers of veterans who are losing their job. You're talking about just like normal people who were trying to do their best and are being unceremoniously kicked out. Then you see the level, and this is so obvious to everyone, the richest man on the planet who has his hands and involved in virtually every government agency, he's the one in charge of this? And then we get the stories about, oh, look, they changed this line item so that $400 million were going to Tesla. Oh, look, he's at the FAA and the SpaceX engineers are running around the building and they're pushing contracts in his direction. Oh, look at that. These agencies that were previously investigating his companies, now suddenly he's involved there and those investigations are nowhere to be found. So it did not take a rocket scientist to see what was really going on here and to see that, you know, also I think probably the most politically damaging is how aggressively he has both rhetorically and in reality gone after the Social Security Administration. These things are profoundly unpopular in a way that Donald Trump always used to at least understand. And to your point, which is one that, you know, has been increasingly apparent to me too, I do think Trump is way more checked out of most of his administration. Now, I think the tariff policy, I think that is all him, right? All him and ChatGPT. I think he is leading the charge there. You can see in the way Scott Bessent is so uncomfortable in defending it and doesn't want to even speak in, you know, specifics about what this policy entails. I think that is all him. But even in the leaked Signalgate chats, it's like he completely deferred this important foreign policy to this band of, you know, idiots and wackos who are there, like kind of who don't even really seem to know exactly what it is that Trump wants them to do. So many parts of this are he's hands off and he's just handed it over to Elon Musk. I think the other person that he's handed a lot of his policy over to is Stephen Miller.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, even to be honest, I don't see it though, because Stephen, you might be right in the aliens and enemies thing, but look at all the other L's that the pro-immigration side has taken. I didn't bring this up because I already had too much to say about tariffs, but an hour into the talk, Trump said, by the way, we need a lot more legal immigrants to fill all these manufacturing jobs. I was like, wait, what? I was like, excuse me, what's going on there? So that's not even an H-1B argument, right? He's making the argument that we need more workers to replace, to fill all of these brand new manufacturing jobs that you're taking. I know for a fact that Stephen Miller of them have been fighting against that behind the scenes. So Stephen Miller, yes, he got his Alien and Enemies Act, but I mean, there's been no change on H-1B. Trump is out there basically like simultaneously endorsing McKinley-esque tariff policy, but then neoliberal immigration policy. These don't make any sense. I would say Elon has been empowered. And also, what I noticed the most about Trump is I don't think they necessarily planned this whole thing with Elon. But then what happened? When Elon became a lightning rod, Trump is obsessed with, quote, not giving a scalp. Even behind the scenes, it's obvious he thinks Michael Waltz is an idiot. But he doesn't want to fire him because it would mean vindicating Jeffrey Goldberg. Well, with Elon, who has become, you know, this liberal, like lightning rod, same thing. He doesn't want to give his enemies a scalp, phase him out or whatever over a period. But I mean, the issue is just the amount of damage that they're doing in the interim. Look at the Wisconsin numbers. We haven't even gotten a chance to really react here. I mean, that was a midterm level turnout for some freaking judge's race. I couldn't even tell you who the judge where I come from is. And that's, you know, Wisconsin voters were like, we got more ads on our TVs and had more touch points than we did in the presidential election over this whole thing. That's the number of Democrats that came out to. It wasn't even close. It was like 55-45. It was a 10% margin of victory.
Double-digit victory.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Now think about what's going to happen here in Virginia. Oh my God. What, Spanberger? What do you think he's going to win by? 20 points?
It could be.
It's going to be unbelievable.
It could be.
So yeah, that's where the Elon problem is. In the, you know, just by not, quote, giving the enemy a scalp, you're creating a massive, massive political problem.
I don't think Trump cares though. Like, I don't think he cares about the midterms.
I think you're right.
I think he already expects Republicans are going to lose the House in the midterms. And so I don't know that that's really all that important to him. And so, more